Hey Julia, all right, thank you for being so patient. I'm actually really excited that I felt pulled to do your reading today because it is New Year's Eve, at least over here. And whenever I do a reading on a special day, whether it's a certain kind of moon, which by the way, the full moon, there's a full moon last night, usually they're very detailed and end up being very interesting. So let's go ahead and do your reading. It was already coming through as I was shuffling. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time there, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day, relationship, feelings, the death card, lesson learned, hints of time throughout. And we did set the intention that this reading has to do with you and your kids or one of your kids. So we're going to see what came through here, which one we're talking about here, what's going to happen when it comes to karmic readings, like reading relationships. It's going to be, you want to know about kids, like plural, but there might just be one if there's two, because I definitely feel like there's at least one. Your job is going to be to identify which soul we're speaking about based on what comes through, whether it's personality or certain issues you might be dealing with or have dealt with throughout raising the child. Or even things that might come up later. So your job is going to be to make connections where you can. I'm just going to relay to you the imagery and impressions coming through already, and I'll try to help however I can. All right, so let's begin. Now right away, what happened, what came through even as I was laying was the relationship itself, and we're looking at your relationship with the child. And here's the thing, in these readings, whenever I'm doing readings for parents and kids, it's not always the same role, right? I've had parents and kids come back as partners, best friends, where the roles were reversed. In this reading, it's the same. We're looking at a mother. It feels like your energy is the mother energy here as well. And then the child that is definitely coming through, at least one child that is definitely coming through here, is a male. And what came through right away was the age. He would be, the age would be around 12. That's what they're giving me, just right based off the bat, like right off the bat. So that could be even just simply that could be a connection for you if what we're talking about pertains to maybe how you felt when your child was at the age of 12. I don't know how old they are right now. Maybe they're at 12. I don't know. But that could be significant in some way. Like that could have been the hardest year for you as a mother. That could have been the easiest year. That could have been the year you learned the most. That could have been a year where the child was injured. Something severe happened, right? So just, later on, hopefully you have a notepad while we're doing this. But later on, go and think back of the 12th year of your child if they've reached the age of 12. If not, then, anticipate and see what happens at 12 and see what connections you can make. All right, let's begin. So where we're starting, this is the Americas card, and I'm drawn down to South America right away, and we're drawn to a time period that I feel would be equivalent to when the Roman Empire was in its prime. So all the stories we hear of the Roman Empire, I feel like this is directly that time period. So go and Google that time period and see if you connect personally to that time period. And honestly, I do want to say there's something Roman about this, but I don't know history enough to know if the Romans ever came into South America or what their connection was. So just see what you can find. Or what we could be looking at is a culture here that is set up how the Roman Empire was as far as parental duties and roles, the children's duties and roles. And this feels distinctly like we're looking at an aspect of you that here would be considered aristocracy. So higher up in the classes, possibly royalty kind of thing. So that can also be why there is this connection in my mind with the Roman Empire. There's something about that. But here I feel like we're going to South America, to where there is a great empire, where there's something that we would find in the books today, but it feels like that time period. So I feel like there are records of these people. If you want to look and see what was going on with a very, it's either a kingdom or an empire in South America, Yeah, yep. Okay, at the time of the Roman Empire. So try to find that. Just Google that and see if you connect in any way, right? Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Okay, let me just see what to do. Okay, so first of all, the lay of this land. What's going on? All right, so we're looking at a place. This place is so developed in resources. It's so rich. But it's not, you know, we're not looking at paper money. We're looking at resources in the way of agriculture, food, and even resources in the way of, I feel like there's a silver gold connection. Specifically gold, it feels like there's a lot of gold. What do they do with gold? There's something about the gold that they find connects them with what is going on. There's a spiritual aspect with the gold. So if you, this might be so random, and you know, if you connect with the idea of gold, like if you prefer gold jewelry to like gold to silver kind of thing, there's something gold. Or if gold has come across your radar in a way that connects with things other than money. So like gold having to do with not how much it's worth, like, oh, this is very expensive, but more like gold as in, oh, what a resource, or, gosh, it's almost like luck, like, oh, gold is luck, so I'm gonna put this gold nugget under my pillow at night, or there's some kind of ritual having to do with a resource. So one, if you find that there is a ritual that you have come across recently or have been told regarding putting some kind of resource by your bedside or under your bedside to have sweet dreams or to have dreams of prophecy or things like that, that's one connection. Two, if when I say that, that intrigues you and that's something that you want to look into, that's two. And then three would be simply a message for you to look it up and see how you feel about the idea of utilizing a natural element. I want to say, honestly, the word that's coming through for you is prophecy or prophetic dreams. So if you've been wondering what your spiritual gift is or where to start with your dreams. This is going to be very helpful for you. And what you want to do is if you have trouble remembering your dreams, you want to write down anything you can remember from your sleep at all. Even if you wake up, can't remember anything, write down, can't remember my dream, but I slept well and woke up at, 3 a.m. once. You know what I mean? So just start logging your sleep experiences and see what develops if you can't remember your dreams. If you can remember them, start writing them down, and also start utilizing your sleep time as a time to think of it as a spiritual development time for you. And I feel like this is going to kickstart you in a lot of ways, because I also feel like this ties into this life we're looking at, where you get dreams in this life, and the dreams have basically foretold parts of your future. So there's already a gift within you that is prophetic. So you have the gift of prophecy, and that's sight. So you want to just dabble and look into that and see if it resonates with you. And again, if it hasn't come up yet, this can simply be a sleeper gift that hasn't awakened yet because your focus has not been turned onto it yet. And this is what this reading also might be for, is to wake you up to one of your gifts that you definitely have. Okay? So just keep that in mind. We're going and keep making connections where you can here. But I wanted the land. So this is a valley. So we're looking at a valley that's surrounded by, it doesn't feel like mountains that are at like a natural mountain peak range like around you. It feels like it's flat cliffs that look down on the valley, but it's almost like it's so steep that it can't be attacked unless someone were to hook up a rope and like rope their way down the side, rather, because there's no way to walk down the side. So there's something about this place that is actually safe, like a safety thing, because there's only so many ways in and out easily, and they're all guarded. So it feels like this is a very structured That's another reason why it feels like it's connecting with the Roman Empire. It feels like there are guards at all of the areas that would be soft spots for attack, so to speak. So it feels like there's a lot of security here. Now, you can be connecting with this in some way, such as, one, do you like the idea of living in a valley? It could be that simple. Or two, more of a deeper aspect is the idea of security in your life. Are you someone that needs you need security, you like security, it's important to you, and it could be metaphorical, like security as in like secure emotionally, but this is talking about like, are you someone that makes sure all the doors are locked and you have an alarm system, and you have maybe you're someone that likes to have a gate surrounding your property? Maybe it's something as simple as like, I like to see my property defined by a structure like a gate or like a sidewalk, or like, you know what I mean? Where you know, like, this is my property because there's the line. Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like a sense of security in that sense. So just play with the idea of the idea of security as a theme in your life, because here, this place is very secure and protected. Now, here's the opposite connection. Remember, we can make direct connections, opposite connections. The opposite connection to that would be if you feel like you need freedom and you need to be able to come and go as you please, and you don't want to feel like there's anything, what's it called? Any obstacle keeping you from movement, from mobility, from doing as you please. Because here it feels like there's something about being watched. And it also comes, I feel like, with the idea that you are of a higher class. So it's almost like, I don't want to say, I don't know if they had bodyguards in this place, but it feels like it, or it feels at least like everyone's watching you, or like you're someone that people watch because you are someone or from a family that is much higher up, even royalty. So it's very, actually, you could have bodyguards, because we could be looking at someone who is royalty, but it doesn't feel like direct royalty. It feels like it would be like, oh, cousin, right? Like that kind of thing, but still royalty. So how do you feel about the idea of being watched, of being viewed? How do you act when you're in public around people, when you know that you are able to be seen? Do you hold yourself a certain way? Or it could be something like, Julia, it could be like if you feel like people are watching you, like when you go out and about, if you have a weird feeling, not like you're being watched, not like you're being watched by like someone who's like lurking, but like if you're out and about and you ever get this thing in your head where it's like you are almost like the center of attention, even though no one's indicating anything, you might have the feeling, as weird as that might sound. If you ever get that, it would stem from here, because this person, this aspect of you was always watched because you were somebody, okay? This can also be a connection if you've ever felt the desire for being recognized or famous. That would come from here too. If you ever felt like, I should be the center of attention, and this is not like a needy attention person. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like literally, like I should be, you know, like I'm someone that people should be looking at, like, again, like attention should be drawn to me, and you don't even know why, but you've had these feelings. It's this kind of thing. And that's what we get for a lot of people who are royalty in other lives. They have that sense of, this is weird. I feel like I should be famous. I feel like I should be looked at. I feel like I should be looked up to. Why do I feel that way? Sorry, I had to start over because there was a very loud vehicle passing. But anyway, we're talking about the idea that I have gotten clients even who have felt that way when we find out like they've been royalty in another life or very high up in class. They'll go about and they'll have that feeling, you know, why aren't they looking up to me, or I feel like they should be looking up to me, or why aren't I being revered, or that kind of thing. Like, why, you know, like a feeling of almost like expecting fame or expecting recognition. And a lot of people bury these feelings because they feel like it's shallow or they feel like it's embarrassing, but it's like, no, no, no. It's normal because you went through at least one life as royalty. And when you go through a life as royalty, you have bodyguards. People look at you. People are jealous. People look up to you. People think you're wiser and you know more. And, you know, it's kind of like how people look up to the very, very, very wealthy now. It's like the wealthy now have become like royalty then, where people just look up to them and they don't even care like about their personality. It's just like, hey, he's wealthy, he must be better, you know, like that BS. So it is okay if you feel these feelings, but here's the thing too, when you do feel these feelings, if you do, don't be ashamed of them. Don't question them. It's just it's a lingering feeling and it's okay. So just some people have some issues as far as being embarrassed or feeling shame when they feel that way because they feel like, oh, this isn't humble or good. And it's like, no, it's fine. It's just a feeling. Like, so anyway, if you resonate with that, great. And if not, just tuck it in the back of your head. But yeah, keep making connections where you can. When it comes to this, oh, also the connection to South America, if you have any connection or like you always wanted to travel there or vacation there, or if you pull up photos of South America, actually what I'd love for you to do is Google South American ancient kingdom or South American kingdom or empire or something like that in a valley. And see what you pull up and see if you see any depictions of anything. Look at it, feel it out, see how you feel, okay? All right, so keep making connections with this card however you can. And we're gonna go ahead and move to the next card now. This is the Take Care of Me card. So this is very interesting. It's a duality card only for this reading, not usually. Take Care of Me card. This indicates, again, aristocracy, you're royal, you are taken care of. You are taken care of, everything you ever need is met. It is a life of luxury, but I want to say for a time, because I feel like what is coming up is where the duality comes in, where eventually, when it comes to the child connection, you're going to have to take care of the child. Now, it is the idea of like you have many servants, you have nannies, there are people who will look after the child kind of for you, but you have to act and behave a certain way when you have a child as part of the royal family. So that I feel like is coming up, but connect with the idea when we're talking about that of the idea of growing up one way and then having everything flip over another way. It's almost like a fresh perspective, and it can be a slap in the face for a lot of people because it's unanticipated and unexpected. So it's the idea of someone who is going through life, like just you're going through life and you think, oh, one day I'm going to have a family and it's gonna be lovely and easy and sweet and loving and, you know, all these things that you dream about when you think of a family, and then you actually have a family. And yeah, there's a lot of love there, but it's also like so much work and it's exhausting and there's a lot of worry and you're stressed and all these things that you don't think about when you're dreaming of something. So it's the kind of thing where I want to say like, oh, be careful what you wish for, but it's also the kind of thing like you would never give it up, like you would never have it any other way. It's just that you didn't anticipate certain things to happen. So that is what we're feeling here, and this is basically, it feels like it's a card of learning to cope. Learning to cope with a new reality or truths of something that you asked for or wanted. Like let's say you did in your current life, let's say you did want kids. Let's say you did want to get married and have kids, and you're like, and in your head you're like, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be solid, everyone's, you know, everyone's gonna get along and all that stuff, you know. And then you're there and you get married maybe and you have kids maybe, you know, like that kind of thing. Obviously you have kids. And it's just not exactly as you thought it would feel. The feeling's different. But there's so much learning in that feeling. There's so much learning in the expectation versus the reality of it. And I feel like this is a theme for you to almost like meditate on or think about in whatever way connects with you. The idea of expectation versus reality. And as I'm talking, it feels like we are talking about how you might feel about at least one of your kids, where it's almost like I feel like there's a message of, despite whatever gifts or strengths that you know about your kid or kids, both of them, because here it still feels like we're just linking you with one at least. Whatever strengths that you know about your kid, right? So what happens is you see your children grow up and you notice that they're gifted in certain ways. What does that do? It forms an expectation of what they could do with it. And this is because you're human and normal. And this is every parent. So let's say your kid is so proficient in, we'll say, what do I want to say? Proficient in, let's just say, art, right? So let's say your kid is very proficient in art, like a prodigy. Like, you see the work they do is like masterpieces at age 8. This is just an example. And so what do? Well, naturally, you're going to form expectations that not only will this child continue to do art, but that it will even develop and get even better, and that he will pursue it possibly for a career and become famous or known, and then you see he stops doing art after a few years and he switches to doing, he starts to like videotape himself playing games, and he loves games now. And he's left art behind, and games is like his new art, so to speak, or whatever. But you're left with that kind of feeling of like, but you have so many gifts, and you should be focusing on what you are a master at. Why are you not doing this? You can be someone. You can be famous. You can. So there's the expectation right there, versus the reality that the kid might not see his art as something that he'd want to pursue forever, but it was a phase of his life. So there's this idea of control coming through, and this idea of the, wanting, not just it's the controlling of like, I know that your art could make you happy if you pursued it, like better, because you've been through experiences. You're a grown up and he's a kid, that kind of thing. Like, you can see these things, but it's not about that. It's about you. It's about your expectation. And when you form these expectations and they're not met, what you're doing is missing out on appreciating what the child has otherwise. The other gifts that child has that you might see as maybe useless, even because we use the example of him switching from art to playing games, and and people are like, well, what can he do while he plays games? What's going on there? Well, the thing is, there are things that are unseen that you don't see that can be appreciated. Like when children play games, they're creating new neurological pathways in their brains for problem solving a lot of the times. And some of these games are incredibly artistic and aesthetic as well. You see, so there are always silver linings to find in the child's path and what they pursue. But when you have an expectation, and even the expectation might be based on something real in reality, like the kid actually being a master at something. So there's like, you're like, well, of course I have expectations. He was into it and he was doing it and he's a master. Why wouldn't I have expectations? But it's not about having expectations. It's about learning when to release them. Like, you can have expectations, but don't hold on to them so fast that they become a controlling aspect of how you view your child or how you perceive them. Because that's going to cause resentment and disappointment, And I'm not saying you are. I'm just giving you what's coming through as far as these ideologies of how to perceive another person, how to look at your child. And it's almost like a message of, this is unconditional loving. This is exactly what unconditional love is. It's okay to have expectations, but release them if the child doesn't hold the expectations for themselves. Like, love what the child loves, so to speak. Like, that's the job, is just unconditional love. And this is also coming through as far as, well, what's coming up is, we've done a reading before regarding the mother figure, right? So the mother figure gave you an experience in your life, and you might be very, you might be very adamant about giving your child or children the experience that you never got in childhood. And I feel like this is directly correlated to that, to give you insight on how your childhood how you were raised could easily affect your thinking and behavior in regards to your children. It's normal. It's called trauma. So it's totally normal, but this is coming up just as like some insight to, it's almost like the words coming through is like back off. Like, I don't know why. It's just, it's like back off. It's okay. Like, kind of like let them be. And I don't know, again, I don't know how old your kids are. Like, I don't know what stage they're in. But this is more about like making sure that it feels like your role with them is to support them no matter what. And I feel like that is actually a lesson for you. And they'll appreciate it, but it's a lesson for you. And it's not a bad thing. Like, that's the whole point of life, is to learn these lessons. And there's a total peace that comes with letting go of the control of needing those expectations met. That's where I'm going to leave that, okay? So just resonate with whatever, you know, if that resonates, great. If not, put it in the back of your mind. But returning here, so we're looking at a female aspect of you that is given everything that you need, and you're watched over, and that you are controlled in that way, but there's something about it where you move through it very gracefully. And the female aspect I'm looking at is wearing white, and again, this is very reminiscent to me of the Roman Empire with the white dress attire that we see depictions of in history, where there's some like white, like almost like toga-ish, but not, because this is full on both shoulder sleeve, like not sleeves, I want to say there's straps over the shoulder that are this thick, like over the shoulder, like, so it's like modest but still showing the arm, and it's draped all the way down. So again, if you can find depictions of this, like art, like historical art piece, paintings or depictions of this era of time and in this place where the type of clothing they wore, it looks and seems to be linen-y, like linen-y kind of. So it's a thicker, heavier cloth, and there's something very graceful about this aspect of you, very graceful. So if being graceful, feminine, has been a theme in your life, the idea of grace or feminine, maybe one, you've never felt like you've quite attained what you wanted to attain in that way, or two, that is who you are. You just, you might even love white clothing. Do you love white clothing? It can even be white dresses, not wedding dresses, but white dresses, because there's something very graceful and clean and aesthetic about this person. But it's simple, but it's like when you see like celebrities dress up in attire that is very simplistic, but you know it's like it cost them $5,000 for that sweater. You know what I mean? But it's just a very simple sweater that lays just right. So we're actually getting into some fashion. So if you have a thing for fashion in the sense where you like the aesthetic that is simple and elegant and graceful, almost, is what I want to say. It doesn't like I'm not talking ruffles, I'm not talking sparkle, I'm not talking, you know what I mean? Like, there's something about this aesthetic that is very specific, and they're bringing up these details for a reason. And it's also the way she walks. She walks like royalty. I feel like that's being brought through as a message for you. This is almost like a remembering, like you are royalty. Think of your soul or your spirit as royalty, and how would your human body behave knowing that there is a spirit and soul within it, within your vessel, that is royal? How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you think? How would you demand that you be treated? Right? So that's what I feel like is coming through, is making sure you understand that you have every right to demand respect, civility, and courtesy from anyone you talk to. Doesn't matter if it's family or not. You have every right to demand that. And if you've ever felt like you have had that right, it's because you do, and your soul is telling you that. So don't ever feel like you have to remain humble, or you have to be grateful for someone showing you respect and courtesy, because that should be the bare minimum that you demand. And how you demand that is by not entertaining anyone in your company who does not treat you that way. You walk away, you cut off connection, because you deserve nothing less than that. And that is a straight up message from your guides, your higher self. That is straight up. So I hope you take that with some weight. Okay, so let's go to the first important day. Now, it's very interesting that this reading is about you and your child, a connection with your child, but a lot of it is about you. And what I feel like is that in your current life, you might not be focusing on yourself enough. So in this reading, I'm being guided to focus on you, to show you how important it is to focus on you. And also how important it is that self-care and self-love is vital in order to sustain healthy relationships with people you love. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to resent any energy you have to put into a relationship, because you're like, your soul is like, well, you're not giving me energy, you're not giving me kindness, you're not showing me the love that you're showing other people. So like this is BS. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is. Like make sure that you are focusing on you mostly so that your relationships are full and you're not feel like you're running on empty. Okay? So I feel like that is why we are so focused on you in this life, but your child is coming through. So let's get here. So this card, the first important day, conquered, they have come, or the welcome card. This talks about new people coming in, either to visit, to be allies, or to conquer enemies, that kind of thing. Here we're looking at spouse, the spouse card, and this is, it's not always, you know, having to do with your spouse, but this is going to be your spouse. It feels like we're being introduced to your projected spouse, husband, whatever. This is, oh, the horror. All right, so here's the deal. The horror card is coming in because for the first time, this thing that is out of your control due to the royal family you've been born into is the first thing that is truly affecting your emotions in a way where you don't want to go along with it and you don't want to be civil and graceful, because it feels like you are being restricted. There's no choice in this matter, because it feels like you are being married in an arranged marriage to someone from another kingdom or a neighboring community in order to bring peace to both communities, which is a lovely thing, but you don't know this person. You don't know this person at all. It's a stranger, and you're gonna have to be married to this person and live with this person. And I'm not sure, it feels like you have to go with them. So it's almost like on this day, it is a very traumatic day because you have been, they've come to claim you, and they come and claim you. And this is where you may come and find in your current life you have big issues with control and freedom as a woman. So for example, if you have issues when you read or hear about child brides, young women being taken advantage of, and I know, of course, like if you have a heart, you're gonna feel for these people. It's gonna be bad, I know, but like if you have an emotional triggered reaction when you hear or read about these things on a deep soul level, it's because you basically here seem to be a child bride. And I don't mean you're a kid like you're 12. I mean here it seems like you might be 14 or 15. But that to us today is, it's a child, and quite frankly it's too young. It's like the kind of like, it's a revolting thing because it feels like the arranged marriage is with someone much older. It can even be, I don't even know if there's even like where they have one wife. It might be like a 2-wife deal or something. I don't know what it is, but you're the new young wife, and they're showing me the partner is old and large and slovenly, and you are graceful and beautiful. The only match here is in the class or the hierarchy, the royalty aspect. And on paper, it's a good match, but in reality, it's revolting. So you might be revolted on a soul level again when you hear or read or think about the idea of these young girls around the world being married off. Arranged marriages might really irk you. It might be the kind of thing that if you were to fight for anything, like a cause, it would be to stop child and arranged marriages. So just see how you feel about that. And there's the lack of control again. So if you are triggered when you are being told what to do or how to behave or how to act, it could be as simple as being requested to, like, hey honey, can you, or it's more like, hey babe, go run and get blah blah blah, like we're out of milk, go get milk. And if it's asked in such a way that it's not asked with gratitude or with please, like with politeness, recognizing your effort, that might be like a tipping point for you. So if you find that, again, if you come across any situations where you feel like someone is trying to control you or things are out of your control, this would, it's infuriating or it is demoralizing to you and it hits those spots. It comes from being here in this life where it's like, oh yeah, everyone's looking up to me, and yet I'm basically being married off as a child to get molested. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what this is. So there's like the thing about like, I don't know, almost like it feels like there's like it feels like you might be frustrated with certain things. Like the idea of people not really seeing the truth of things as well. Like you might find a lot of people to just be idiots. Like you just might be like, how can you not see this? How can you go along with this? Like that kind of thing. So keep making connections with what we're going through here. But this is the day that you are brought away from home. So this also, going along with the security of your home, this is security of self and the idea of home, being uprooted from your home. So if you have any fears or issues regarding your home, having, almost like I want to say having, is the word dominion over your home? I mean like making your home yours, or making sure that nothing's going to take you away from home. This could be the kind of thing that comes up with if you are someone who needs to own land or needs to own property, or it's important that your name is on the deed, your name is on the land. And if your name is not on the house, so to speak, like wherever you live right now, how do you feel about that? You know, is your name on there where you make, did you make sure that you would be attached to it so you couldn't be thrown out or taken away from it? Has that ever crossed your mind? Is this a theme? The idea of making sure that this is yours, claiming it as yours, so nobody can come in and say this isn't yours or you don't belong here. The phrase "you don't belong here," does that bother you? The phrase "get out of here," does that bother you? You know, like those things, like what triggers you in that way when it comes to where you belong, what is yours, what you claim is yours. Being rooted to the place, if that makes sense. Are you someone that makes sure that you put touches in your home? Like, are you the one that decorated your home? Do you put things in your home where people walk in and they know, oh, Julia, this is all Julia. Julia did that. Julia did this. She arranged the furniture. She put those pictures up. This is her, she chose this rug. That's her artwork. You know, like that kind of thing. If that's important to you, that would be a connection here, because it feels like here she was not, this aspect of you was not able to lay claim to anything or make decisions regarding her surroundings, her home. You know what I mean? Like it was all done for her. Everything here is arranged. That's something that the word arrangement here. Do you vibe or connect or are triggered by the word arrangement? Things being arranged for you. Are you someone that doesn't like being surprised, like a surprise party? When things are arranged for you and you don't know about it, does that bother you? And if it doesn't bother you, that means that you've healed from it. And that's good. But just think of that. So keep making connections where you can when it comes to this. This can also indicate that you don't like change or newcomers of any kind, like something changing up, new people being brought in. If you hear about like, I don't know if you work somewhere or your husband works somewhere and then you hear about a new colleague coming in or a new person, does that put your guard up? When there's new people or new things pop up unexpectedly, does that put your guard up? Again, it comes to like being surprised or change. How do you deal with change? So now we're going to be getting into the connection with your child, finally, but keep making connections where you can here. And this card is the birth card. Now we're seeing the child. This is full on you having a child, at least one. I'm at least seeing the first child, and it's a boy. And this boy is born with a lot of dark curly hair. And there's something about that is very prized. And so you are prized. And by this time, you've kind of adjusted to your life. And you really are treated well, though. You're not mistreated. It's just the whole, like, you know, child bride, that's full on, like, molestation. Like, you know what I mean? That's not consent. That's the bad part, but it's accepted in this society. So otherwise, you are treated with wealth and riches, and you are adored. You are adored. You are the adored person. You are welcomed into the new community. So it's overall an okay experience. It's just you're not in love. There's no in-loveness, which, by the way, in your current life, that could be very important to you, is that you are in love and you stay in love, and you might even go to certain extents to make sure that you stay in love, and that your person loves you. It could even be the kind of thing where you might feel like you need to make sure that your person stays in love with you. I don't know what you might do or say or whatever it might be, but you might even compromise some things that you don't need to compromise because you need the security of knowing that person that it's love, love, love. And that's okay. But just see if you do anything that is coming from, like, see if you do things where you compromise that comes from a fear-based place of losing your love or losing the love. Because here there was no love, that love in a relationship, romantic love, could be so important to you. On the other hand, in your current life, it could be something where you're like, I'm not romantic, I'm good. Because here there was no room for romance. So that would be a direct connection. All right, so the birth of this boy, and you are like, when this boy is born, huge deal, because the boys it feels more valuable here as well. So it feels like there's a huge celebration. It feels like, almost like your husband, he might actually be like the royalty there. Like he might be the king, or a prince, or whatever it might be, however they set up their kingdom. He's the guy, and it feels like he is so overjoyed that he's a generous guy. This person is actually generous. He's slovenly, but he's generous. Like, he's not pretty to look at, and he's maybe not even fun to talk to. But it feels like on this day, there's something about him just like giving a feast to the entire community, making sure everyone has like, basically it's like he's giving a bonus to everyone because you birthed a boy. And that makes everyone love you even more. So this is love of community. So in your current life, if you find love of community to be important to you, it's because it is rippling from here. On the other hand, in this life, you might have chosen to stand by yourself. You know what I mean? So there's that whole like opposite thing. But this can also be a connection to when you gave birth to your first child. How did it make you feel? Was there immense pride? Was it celebrated? Did you actually give things away? This might be kind of random, but were things given away to family members or people in celebration of the arrival of the first child? Right? So was there anything celebratory? Of course you're going to celebrate the child, if you want a child, but more like gifting, like were there gifts given to others versus, of course, you get gifts, like, you're having a kid, here's your gifts, but did you give gifts away? That'd be interesting. And if you didn't, did you want to? Did you have the notion of, let's gift people something to celebrate the arrival of our first child? Like that kind of thing. So just something to play with, the idea if that came through. The family card is the relationship card is family card right here. So family. And this is kind of a nostalgic-y, lonely kind of feel. So what this does is it gives you new perspective of what family is, because here all of a sudden you develop these new feelings. Once you have a child, we see you developing feelings for the husband figure, not true love, not passion, but this sense of like admiration, respect, loyalty amps up once you have his child, and a family unit kind of comes together. I'm getting chills right now. So there's this idea of like learning or feeling new feelings you've never felt before, or feelings you've never thought you would ever feel for this person is now coming into play as you hold your firstborn child. And so there's that idea of what's coming through with that is the idea of there are things you may experience in life that you will not anticipate ever feeling. Like, you don't know what something feels like until you experience it, and there are things in life you have yet to experience and feel. There are emotions that you have yet to feel, even though it feels like you're like, okay, I'm this age, of course I've experienced everything I've to experience, you know? Like, I've lost people, I've loved people, I've had children, what's left? What's left to experience? And the message here is so much more. And I don't know if you need to hear that, but like, Julia, like, there's so much more for you to experience emotionally that is so beautiful. It's almost like, I feel like what the words coming through is you just wait and see. Like, you just wait and see. And I feel like this comes when you let down any guards you have up, when you let go of any expectations that you have when it comes to your kids, or I even want to say your close relationships, any expectations of how they are to behave, act, or create, and letting go of control in that way. And you're going to open yourself up to these new experiences that you wouldn't have if you hold on to the guards and the expectations and the control. And those are those feelings you want to move towards. They're very expansive and they feel amazing because they're running through me now. I can't even quite articulate them, but they're beautiful. And it's something you want. It's almost like something you never knew you wanted until you get it, and you're going to feel it and you'll be like, oh, I've been waiting for this. Like that. It's kind of magical. But this also, what the lonely nostalgia card comes through is almost like how we sometimes view our childhood as like better than it was, or through rose-colored glasses. And it's just a message that there's no point in dwelling in the past or dwelling on even like how things used to be.